So, segueing off of the back of my last video leading up into every single game of the series, that video is what you need to watch to preference or to have any type of foundation on why I'm saying what I'm saying in game 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6, and 7. So if you didn't watch that video, you probably don't know what I'm saying. So in this video, I'm gonna try to, make some of the same points. But in the game, dog, the Knicks were just throwing up shots hoping they went in, and the Spurs were throwing up even more shots hoping they went in. Neither team had a game plan in this game. And maybe it's because it's game 1 and they want to see what the other team is going to do. But game 1 is not the game where you want to do that in the NBA Finals. This is probably the worst start to an NBA Finals that I've ever seen with my own eyes in terms of shooting. 3-pointers. Thanks a lot, Steph Curry. You destroyed the game. And a lot of people say Steph Curry changed the game. Of course he changed the game. He changed it for the worse. He made threes turn into a glamorized, overrated point of the game. 3-pointers were never a part of the game in terms of we're going to live and die by this. We're going to live and die by this. It was always fundamentals, attacking the paint, or living and dying by something other than the atrocious 3-ball. Now, if the 3 is going in, it makes the game a little bit more fun because it opens it up and it makes it a little bit more faster. But when the 3s aren't going in, you're talking about some of the worst things that you could see as a fan of the game. Knicks fans, please, y'all are one of the most liked fan bases overall in terms of if there was a poll on the top fan bases across all sports genres. I think y'all would be top 5. Now, if you want to talk about the worst, we already know off the bat what teams will be mentioned. Eagles, Cowboys, Lakers, Golden State, Utah, Boston Celtics, any Boston team. Patriots. I'm missing somebody. You guys know what I'm trying to say. So when you want to talk about some of the most beloved fan bases by other fan bases, probably Knicks, Spurs, because they're classy. They don't do stuff to rub people the wrong way, and they don't have players that play the game the wrong way. The Spurs will always be that because they always had fundamentally sound players. They always had humble players. Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and Greg Popovich, even though some dislike the fact that he started this whole sit-out games for load management. So, if you didn't watch my first video talking about some of the things that the Spurs need to do to expose Jalen Brunson, you probably won't know what I'm saying in this particular video. Now, 79 3-pointers between combined both teams. Spurs had 43. They made 11. That's 25%. The Knicks had 36. They made 11. That's 30%. In total, that's 79 3-pointers with 22 made. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. Because from the first quarter to the last, they were just throwing up shots. And this is why the Spurs lost this game. So what I said in my video about the Spurs suppressing and exposing the New York Knicks and suppressing Jalen Brunson, I should say it like that, is the fact that they have way too many guards that you cannot compare James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, CJ McCollum, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson to. You can't compare them to, because every guard on that team, I would choose to defend Jalen Brunson before I choose any guard on the Cavs or the Atlanta Hawks. But the edge in this series, like I say, is up to those guards of the Spurs. Because if you watch this game, you know Jalen Brunson just set the tone for what's going to happen for the rest of the way. Not only that, field goals. 89 attempts for the Spurs. They made 32. 94, almost 100 field goals attempted by the Knicks, and they made 39. They shot 41%. This game was terrible in terms of fundamentals. And right now, even though Jalen Brunson scored 30, you would give him the MVP over Victor Wembanyama if you had to choose an MVP in the finals right now. Victor Wembanyama scored 26 and 12. That's not enough. Victor Wembanyama looked disgusting in this game at times. Josh Hart would be on him in the post, and he had no go-to. Can you imagine if Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaq, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, KG, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, Bill Russell, LeBron? Nah, I can't say LeBron because I've seen LeBron have a short person on him a lot of times in the post and he not be able to do. Can you imagine if any of those players, Nikola Jokic, I would even go as far as to say Nikola Jokic, had Josh Hart on them in the post? Victor Wembanyama this offseason has to get a little bit stronger. And there's no excuse. I ain't making no excuses for him because you got Tim Duncan and you got David Robinson. There's no reason why Josh Hart is on you in the post for, I ain't going to say most of the game, but every time I seen Josh Hart on, it's like he didn't know what to do with Josh Hart on him. He was the same way when Alex Caruso was guarding him in the post. So for those that want to hurry up and usher Victor Wembanyama, if he wins a finals MVP, if he wins a championship, they're going to start. I already know the stupidity that's going to surround this man in terms of him being top 5. Is he already better than KG? No, because not one of the greats that plays power forward or center in the top 10 would ever allow a player like Josh Hart or Alex Caruso to ever stop them on one possession, let alone multiple possessions in this game with Josh Hart, where Victor Wembanyama allowed Josh Hart to defend him in the paint. Man, if you don't back him down, hit some type of fadeaway shot over it, if you miss it, oh, cool. But dang, this is terrible basketball for game 1. Terrible. The shots they were just shooting, just hoping it go in. I'm like, dog, this is why Steph Curry gets no respect from me when y'all want to talk about players that change the game. There's players that change the game for good, and there's players that change the game for worse. I should say there's players that change the game for better, and there's players that change the game for worse, for better or worse. That's how I'm gonna phrase that. Because these 3-pointers that they were shooting was taken away from the hype of the series, man. We thought we was going to get some fundamentally sound basketball. They need to play football the way they was playing basketball. They'll be even worse. Bro, it was disgusting watching this game. It got so bad at one point, I'm like, dog, I'm about to turn this junk off. But for the sake of covering the game, you have to see it through. 41% from the field for the Knicks, 36% from the field for the Spurs, 30% from 3 for the Knicks, 25% for the Spurs. Of course, free throws are the easiest shots, so there's no need to even talk about those. The rebounds were even, 60-60 total. Offensive rebounds were won by the Spurs, 14-10. Assists, Knicks, 20, 16 to Spurs. Steals, 8 Knicks, surprisingly only 4 from the Spurs. Both teams only had 4 blocks. Spurs turned the ball over more, 13-9. Points in the paint, the Knicks had 50. The Spurs had 42. Even with all those shots they were shooting from 3, they still had 50 and 42 points in the paint. Second chance points, 23 by the Knicks, 14 by the Spurs. Overall, what I took from this game is the fact that how I felt going into game 1 is the same way I feel going into game 2. This series has swung in the favor of the Knicks because now they have home court advantage. And the Spurs have never been in this situation, never been in the finals, but neither had the Knicks. Both teams have never been in this situation. But what a lot of people aren't talking about is Mike Woodson has championship coaching ability. So now it's coming down to coaching. Because obviously the players can't get it done on the floor. Granted, they're on the floor, so one team has to win. But the edge now will come from coaching in game 2. It's not going to be about the players. Because in this game, this was the game about the players. Game 1, granted you need coaching, but the percentage of who comes out on top lays heavily on the side of the players. The percentage of who comes out on top in game 2 will lay heavily on the side of coaching. And when you want to look at the coaching staff, San Antonio Spurs, outside of Greg Popovich, laying the foundation, and Mitch Johnson taking that foundation and building upon it and building this young team up to a finals team, needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because you got, on the other hand, Mike Woodson was on the Warriors championship coaching staff, led by one of the most overrated coaches in the history of the game, and Steve Kerr. But that's neither here nor there. What you need to take from this game is the simple fact that neither team shot well, and they both went away from the fundamentals of the game. 43 3-point attempts for the Spurs, 36 for the Knicks. What are y'all doing? After 15 attempts, somebody on that bench, I know they got a person that tracks the numbers, and for those that don't like statistics, for those that don't like analytics, for those that don't like stats, maybe they need to call up Kenny Atkinson and be like, hey, what did analytics say about the team that shoot the most threes and misses the most threes? I mean, shoots the most threes and misses the most. What's the analytics on that? Because the Spurs, they almost shot 53 pointers. Mitch Johnson. Can you imagine if Greg Popovich was the head coach of this team? They wouldn't have more than 23 pointers attempted right now. And y'all got all of that history, all of the film on ball movement, where we saw the Spurs win 5 championships. When you want to talk about an offensive coach, not an offensive coach, an offensive game plan that rivals the triangle offense in terms of which game plan or which philosophy garners the most championships, we know for a fact that it's the triangle offense, created by none other than the Zen master himself, Phil Jackson, greatest basketball coach of all time. High school coach, college, pros, amateurs, semi-pro, pee-wee, whatever the case. Great. If you want to start your franchise with a coach in the history of basketball, or when you want to talk about creating the best team of all time in 2K, and you got the ability to pick a coach, 9 times out of 10, Phil Jackson is being picked. Greg Popovich won 5 rings on saying, make the best pass. 5 passes at least before a jump shot is taken. That's with him dunking on the team. We saw it. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Bruce Bowen, not Brian Scalabrine, I'm forgetting the Red Rocket name, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Who else they had? They had, man, my mind's going blank. And I seen the Spurs play a lot. But y'all get what I'm saying. Move that ball, bro. Because 43 threes and making 11 of them is disgusting. And that was the turning point in this game. And if the Spurs want to, there's no reason why y'all got all this film. And I'm pretty sure they got games that they can refer to in terms of how should we play. Not only that, De'Aaron Fox, they brought you in because of how you performed against the Golden State Warriors. That's the only reason why they brought you in. No other reason. Okay, that's my speculation. I'm speculating the only reason they brought you in is because of what you did for Sacramento against the Golden State Warriors in that play-in tournament game, if I'm not mistaken, to get to the playoffs. 7 points in 37 minutes. 7 points in 37 minutes. You're out there, so I don't want to hear anything about your ankle. Just like I said with Austin Reeves, you out there, so I don't want to hear anything about your oblique or rib, whatever the case may be. Miles Bridges, 9 points in 28 minutes. Josh Hart, 3 points in 26 minutes. If you want to talk about one of the worst finals game play, this would be top 5. Neither team played well. One team has Jalen Brunson, the other has Victor Wembanyama. The difference in this game, Jalen Brunson scored 30, Victor Wembanyama scored 26. They lost by 10. Brunson scored 4 more points than Victor Wembanyama, and they lost by 10. So that's not a good sign for the San Antonio Spurs. But what's not a good sign for the New York Knicks is, up until this point, the San Antonio Spurs have always responded after losing or facing adversity. We saw it in the series against Portland. We saw it in the series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. In Portland, I think Victor Wembanyama was out a game, and without him, the Spurs responded and won and never looked back, closing out that series. In Minnesota, Victor Wembanyama was suspended. He came back, and they never looked back. In the OKC series, they won game 1, lost 2 straight, and then went on to set up a game 7 in which they did the unthinkable. But you got to understand, when Chet Holmgren scores 4 points, that kind of swung the series in their favor. On top of that, Jalen Williams was out. So, the closest thing out, segueing away from the first video, but that first video set the foundation of how I feel about this series, and it hasn't changed because the Spurs didn't play good this game. They didn't shoot good. That's not a good sign for the New York Knicks, because this is the New York Knicks that I've seen all year, and they haven't changed. And it just got a little bit more stiffer because now you gotta play a team that has the defensive capability to suppress Jalen Brunson. So I still want to see both teams play fundamentally sound basketball, and then that will tell how this series will end, whether it's going to end in 5, 6, or 7. And after game 2, I don't think, if the Knicks are up 2-0, that they'll be able to close it out in the sweep. And I'm not, like I did in the first video, I didn't skip ahead to game 2 or to game 1, so I'm not skipping ahead to game 3. Game 2 is up next. And the way these two teams play, if they play like that in game 2, I don't think I could stomach watching the whole series like that. Because I could barely stomach watching them shoot all these shots and not one of them go in consistently for any player. Now, what holds true is my point about the guards making it tough for Jalen Brunson, and that they did. He shot 38% from the field, 12 of 31. That's not good. 2 of 9 from 3, 22%. That's not good, because of the way I know Jalen Brunson plays, and I've seen him play. Now, I ain't gonna say he's a high efficient type of player, but he's not an erratic, sporadic, inefficient player like a Russell Westbrook. He doesn't bring that type of play to the game. He's a calm, even-keeled, humble beast. And when you want to like him, compare him to a point guard of that stature, his mentality and what he brings to the floor, you got to think of Steph Curry. But I think he's a better leader than Steph. And I think if they win the finals, he would get a finals MVP. And then we can start talking about him being better than Steph as a leader. As a player, I would still probably choose Jalen Brunson. And that's what I'm saying. This offseason is going to be stacked with a lot of narratives. And I can't wait till Jalen Brunson win that first Finals MVP, because then we get to stop hearing about Steph Curry being the greatest point guard of all time, because Jalen Brunson is winning the Finals in Steph's era. You mean to tell me Steph's era over already? Or was y'all just saying that because it was LeBron's era and he was winning championships with Steph? Come on, man. Let's talk about the efficiency of Jalen Brunson and how this series is going to shake up to end with that. Cleveland, 6 of 14, 42%. That's elite. 10 of 19, 52%. And I'm going back all the way to the Atlanta series. 7 of 16, 43%. 15 of 29, 51%. 8 of 17. This is the Philly series. This last game, 47%. 11 of 22, 50%. 9 of 21, 42%. 12 of 18, 66%. 6 of 12. This is the Atlanta series. 50%. I was about to say 5%. 15 of 23, 65%. 7 of 18, 38%. That's the second time we see him shoot under 40% in the playoffs. First time was April 25th. 7 of 18, 38%. Since him shooting under 40% in this game. 47%, 11 of 23. The third time we see him shoot under 40%. April 20th versus Atlanta. 10 of 26, 38%. Another time he shoots under, the time he got outplayed by the San Antonio Spurs in terms of field goal percentage. No. Well, I can't say he got outplayed by the San Antonio Spurs, but what I will say is 9 of 22 in a game against the Atlanta Hawks to open the series, 40%. So he shot under 40% once, twice, 3 times. Twice against Atlanta, ironically. The time where we saw him get outperformed in 2 games? Not only that, the game plan was to attack him. That's not a good sign, because he didn't shoot under 40% against Cleveland or Philly. He only shot under 40% against Atlanta and the San Antonio Spurs. So keep that in mind, because that's basically what I was saying in the first video leading up into game 1. Can the Spurs big guards make it tough for Jalen Brunson? And they answered the question. So my feelings about this series have not changed, because the Knicks didn't do anything to make me nervous about the Spurs, because I've seen the Spurs respond every single time. And granted, this is the NBA Finals. And I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to make excuses for both teams to end this thing. The San Antonio Spurs coming off of Game 7. Victor Wembanyama didn't even need to admit it, because we've seen teams do this all the time. We've seen teams go to conference championships and win close games, get to the championship game, and they're still focused on that last series or game, and they can't overcome the mental fog that situation puts in front of them, and then they end up coming up short. We've seen it plenty of times. Many teams go to 7 games, and then in the first game in the NBA Finals, they lay an egg simply because they're still focused on that monumental moment. So now this game is going to allow the Spurs to say, chill, let's relax, let's play our game. And in game 2, that's what I want to see. I want to see them respond. That's why I don't feel like the Knicks did enough to change my mind on how I felt coming into this game and the reason why I made that video. Because it's nothing that the Knicks did in this game where I see the Spurs won't be able to make an adjustment. Because next game, I don't expect De'Aaron Fox to have just 7 points. Not only that, when you want to talk about plus minus, Jalen Brunson was in the negatives. And if he stayed that way, this would have been the first negative in terms of how much your team is up when you're on the floor. And it was looking like, it's not going to be good. And this was going to be the first game where he has a negative impact on his team since March 31st at Houston. But he flipped it around and he was able to stay in the positives. And I like that. Game 2 should be a good one.